discussion on the changing international order and East Asian regional security, as well as on the importance of cooperation to maintain and strengthen the rules-based international order, particularly in the East Asian Sea. And based on the discussion in the morning, we would like to explore the way to practical and substantive security cooperation together with the audience to build a bridge over the troubled water. This afternoon, we are very lucky to have this terrific group of 5 distinguished panelists for 2 sessions. Professor Jane Changit-Yin of S. Rajaratnam School of International Studies. Where are you? Oh, yeah, over there, sorry. Of Singapore, and Admiral Takei Tomohisa Takei, a former Chief of Naval Staff of Japan, for the first session to be moderated by Alessio, and Professor Charmaine Willoughby of the Durasao University of Philippines. Where are you? Oh, I'm sorry. And Dr. Alexandra Sakaki of SWP, for the German Institute for International and Security Studies of Germany, and Professor Ruhanas Harun of the National Defense University of Malaysia for the second and the final session.
Normalized and trade is being recognized, right? and this global development in the last decade and some more recent has forced those of us in Southeast Asia to revisit a lot of, and many of the assumptions that we have been making about our future in the region, and that in my mind has led to a lot of need to realign domestic, regional, and international priorities, and how the region has viewed how we work with friends and partners from within, so within Southeast Asia, and also from outside of the region. So the current geopolitical uncertainty has given new impetus to those of us in Southeast Asia and Southeast Asian states to rethink also the type of order, right, we hope to have. This development definitely has implications on the development in the South China Sea, as well as the award itself. So in my mind, the award itself, the initial impact, as Alessio was trying to allude to, has changed rather significantly because of all these external factors as well. So if I may, my remarks is broadly going to touch on 3 broad issues. Number 1 is, of course, the observation post-award. Number 2, some assessment on the development in the South China Sea right now, and some comments on what else is Southeast Asia watching. So post-arbitral award, the tension to me in the South China Sea is not only about the complex territorial and maritime disputes between the claimants, those remain unresolved. In fact, the resolution of the dispute was not the intent, for the Philippines to go about the arbitral proceedings. Being the most prominent international legal.
So I think I believe there are 3 conclusions. First one is the South China Sea dispute is fundamentally a territorial dispute over maritime futures scattered across one of the world's most strategically important waterway, that is the South China Sea, and it is still ongoing. Second is, despite the UNCLOS took effect in 1994, and even after the 2016 arbitral tribunal award, the essential nature of the dispute has not changed. Meanwhile, China's coercive activities always carry the risk of escalating into armed conflict. And third, if the coastal states, as well as the international community, eventually accept China's claim, the rule-based maritime order could collapse. 3 conclusions. To begin with, I will briefly touch upon the historical evolution of the dispute. After Japan's defeat in World War II in 1945, the South China Sea became a political vacuum. Coastal countries lacked the military capability to occupy maritime futures. China was as well. In the decade following the World War II, China relied primarily on diplomatic assertions to legitimize its claims. However, from the beginning of 1970s, China shifted to military means. It occupied the Paracel Island in 1974 and 6 reefs of the Spratly Island in 1988 from Vietnam by naval battles. In 1995, China occupied Mischief Reef, taking advantage of the US military withdrawal from the Philippines. China then sought to consolidate its occupation through domestic law. The law of the Territorial Sea and Continuous Zone in 1992 declared sovereignty over the South China Sea. Vietnam and the Philippines followed similar patterns, establishing effective control first, then codified claims domestically. After the ratifying UNCLOS 1996, China increasingly relied on the Coast Guard and maritime militia rather than the Navy. These operations are known as gray zone operation. The gray zone operation made boundary between the law enforcement.
Everybody, the remarks that I will be offering today, the bare bones of which are actually the following. The first point that I'd like to make is that there is a threefold challenge that we see in the maritime rules-based international order, focusing specifically on the South China Sea. These challenges include the most popular one, I guess, would be geopolitics, but my advocacy has always been to move beyond just looking at the geopolitical lens and also including the environment and also coastal communities. So these are the threefold challenges that we face in the South China Sea, and as such, the second major point that I'd like to make is that security cooperation, therefore, is hinged on an understanding that there is more than one lens with which to view the maritime order, or at least in this case, the South China Sea. So let me elaborate on these points. First, let's go to the geopolitics angle, the challenge that geopolitics gives us. Territorial claims fuel the rising tensions in the region. We all know the story about China sweeping claims over the waters, prompting competing claims among Southeast Asian countries, including Brunei, Malaysia, the Philippines, Taiwan, and Vietnam. We also know that as a result of a standoff in Scarborough Shoal in 2012, the Philippines, after reaching out to ASEAN and the United States and not getting the necessary assistance or help that we needed, had to rely on lawfare, on filing an arbitration case against China at the Permanent Court of Arbitration. The result of that case was handed down in 2016 that was largely in favor of the Philippines. China, however, even though it is a signatory to UNCLOS, has not accepted the arbitration initiated by the Philippines. In recent years, satellite imagery has revealed China's intensified efforts to reclaim and construct artificial islands in the South China Sea. It's piled sand onto existing reefs, constructed ports, military installations, and airstrips, thereby effectively militarizing various features in the waters. Chinese Coast Guard vessels also began employing dangerous maneuvers against the Philippine Coast Guard, including the use of a military-grade laser and water cannons. In June 2024, these skirmishes resulted in a collision between a Chinese vessel and a Philippine supply ship near 2nd Thomas Shoal. Throughout 2025, a pattern that we've seen is
I'd like to thank King's College and RIPS for organizing this and for inviting me to speak on it. I've been asked or tasked to give a German perspective on security cooperation for the rules-based international order in East Asia, so I will try to develop some ideas on European contributions to the maritime sphere. But when I was given this topic, I couldn't help but start out with the international context, because I think the current international developments underline for small and medium powers in Europe and Asia how important rules and common principles can be. The international system is undergoing profound transformation. We see great power revisionism by Russia in the Ukraine war, also by China, especially the attempts to change the status quo in the maritime sphere. But worryingly for a lot of Europeans, the United States under the second Trump administration also becoming more skeptical, at least rhetorically and in other ways, of international law, of multilateral institutions, and specifically for Europe, its role of being kind of the backbone to security in Europe. And that is unsettling, but Tokuchi-san already said that there's some people who argue that, well, the rules-based order is basically falling apart. But I would also want to underline that while there are challenges without doubt, it's also important to keep in mind that international rules and international law has not disappeared as a result, and that international rules continue to underpin global trade, transport, communication, and especially also the maritime sphere, as Alessio pointed out at the beginning. But nevertheless, these international circumstances, I think, do pose kind of a challenge to Europe, because on the one hand, we must focus limited military and also political resources on ensuring stability and deterrence in Europe, on the one hand. And on the other hand, Europe also must keep sight of the broader challenge to the rules-based order and attempting to sustain really key pillars of the international rules-based order centered on international law, on multilateralism and restraint. And in this broader endeavor, I think the maritime sphere in East Asia is really of key importance to Europe. The primary concern, I think, for Europe is Chinese activities in the South China Sea and the East China Sea.
Now, first of all, I'd like to make this statement that I think we all countries, big or small, we pay lip service actually to RBIO, whether you agree or not. But there are reasons for doing that. For some, this rules-based international order is too complex to understand or even to bother. So we leave to the experts to deal with it. For others, especially for small countries like my country or Jane mentioned just now, that because we do not have the power or the influence or the capacity to enforce in what we believe should be good, so we'd rather either not talk about it or agree, yes, it's very important. Because I think there's no point wasting energy and time opposing that statement or that ambition. So we say, yes, we all agree. And that is part of being in this group of like-minded countries. We all want to be in that like-minded, not in the other group that is opposed to the rule. Now, secondly, I would like to explain 3 facts about East Asia. One, this morning we have explained it as in a state of stable tension.
Stable tension.
Yes.
Right.
So what is stable? Tension is stable. So despite the tension, East Asia is quite at peace. There is no open war, there's no disruption of trade, there's only verbal conflict. We discuss, we verbally fight a lot. So the moment you talk or you have dialogue, I think then you don't kill each other. So keep that dialogue going. That's the principle, especially in ASEAN. So we have our external partners. We don't call them partners or alliance, we call them dialogue partners. So the main thing is we want to talk to you. That's very important. So despite the situation of uncertainty that seemed to plague East Asia, security cooperation has been attempted, and it's still an ongoing trend. Now, the problem with East Asia is that that region comprises of different power states with different power status. So you have countries from a major power like China, and then middle power like Japan or South Korea, or maybe Australia. And then you have small countries, well, like Singapore or Brunei. Then I would like to include the fourth category, country that is not sure whether it is a middle power or a small power. I'm referring to Malaysia because we are debating. Some people in Malaysia, especially the Ministry of Defense, they have come out and say, oh, we are a middle power. But I heard from the Foreign Ministry, it says, oh, please, hang on. It's too much responsibility to call ourselves a middle power. So I align myself with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, even though I work very closely. I've spent 29 years with the Ministry of Defense, and I am a distinguished fellow at one of their institutes. But it doesn't matter. Okay, now, so